There is an old tale whispered among the sages of the East, a tale of a small village eagerly awaiting the arrival of a great master. They had envisioned his coming in precise detail, the way he would look, the words he would speak, and the power he would wield. But when a simple traveler passed through, offering profound wisdom, no one listened. He did not fit their expectations, so they dismissed him, and with that, they lost a golden opportunity. This ancient parable holds a striking parallel to a question that has echoed through history. Why don't the Jews recognize Jesus as the Messiah? To understand, we must journey back to the 1st century, where the Jewish people, weary from centuries of foreign rule, Babylonian, Persian, Greek, and now Roman, clung to a promise. The scriptures spoke of a leader, an anointed one, the Messiah, who would bring liberation and restore the greatness of Israel. But who was this Messiah they longed for? To grasp this, we must step into the minds of the people of that time. The Messiah was expected to be more than a spiritual guide. He was to be a mighty king, a warrior like David, destined to overthrow oppressors and establish Israel's sovereignty. The prophet Isaiah's words were clear. "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder." Isaiah 9:6. This was no mere metaphor. For the Jews living under Roman oppression, the Messiah had to be a leader of action. Someone who would bring justice and deliver freedom in tangible, visible ways. They anticipated a revolution, a restoration of their land, a new era of peace and prosperity. And then, amid these high expectations, Jesus appeared, a humble carpenter from Galilee. He did not arrive on a chariot, nor did he raise an army. Instead, he preached something radically different. Love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you. Matthew 5:44. His words challenged the very expectations the people held. Instead of rising against Rome, he spoke of an inner kingdom, a transformation of the heart rather than the land. For many, this was not the Messiah they had been waiting for. And just like in the parable of the village, their expectations blinded them to what stood right before them. As Rabbi Jacob Neusner put it in his work, A Rabbi Talks with Jesus, Jesus' teachings were not rejected because they were new, but because they were too demanding, calling for a depth of love and surrender that few were ready to accept. This dissonance between expectation and reality became one of the primary reasons why most Jews did not see Jesus as the Messiah. But this is only part of the story. To understand the Jewish perspective, we must delve deeper into what Judaism teaches about the Messiah. In Jewish thought, the Messiah, Mashiach, is not a divine being, but a human leader, a descendant of King David, anointed to fulfill specific tasks. The great Jewish scholar Maimonides, in his Mishneh Torah, outlined clear criteria for the Messiah's identity. He will rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. He will gather all Jews back to their homeland. He will establish universal peace, where nation shall not lift sword against nation. Isaiah 2:4. When the true Messiah comes, Maimonides states, there will be no doubt. His impact will be unmistakable. The world will be transformed. This is why, from the Jewish perspective, Jesus did not fulfill the Messianic prophecies. The temple was not rebuilt. The Jews were not gathered back to Israel. War and suffering did not end. Instead, Rome remained in power, and the world carried on as before. This is not to say that Jesus' teachings were without merit. Many Jewish scholars acknowledge his profound influence as a moral teacher. But the question of the Messiah is not just about wisdom. It is about action, fulfillment of prophecy, and unmistakable change in the fabric of history. But there is another, deeper divergence, one that goes beyond history and politics, the very nature of God. For Jews, God is one, absolute, indivisible. This belief is encapsulated in the Shema, the most fundamental Jewish prayer. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Deuteronomy 6:4. This oneness is central to Judaism. God does not take human form, does not become flesh, and remains utterly transcendent. Christianity, however, introduces a different concept: the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. It teaches that God became man in Jesus, suffered, and resurrected for the salvation of humanity. To Christians, this is the ultimate act of divine love. But to Jews, this idea is unthinkable, a break from the foundational belief in God's absolute unity. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel put it simply: to make God into man is to diminish the infinite. This theological divide is perhaps the most significant reason why Judaism never embraced Jesus as the Messiah. The Messiah, in Jewish belief, is not divine. He is not to be worshipped. He is a leader, not a god. But history has played a role in this division as well. The early followers of Jesus were Jews who remained within Judaism. However, as Christianity spread through the Roman Empire, it evolved, separating from its Jewish roots. By the time Christianity became the official religion of Rome, the division was complete. Worse yet, history took a dark turn. Over the centuries, Jews were persecuted for rejecting Jesus as the Messiah. They were blamed for his crucifixion, labeled as heretics, and subjected to inquisitions, exclusions, and violence. As historian Yosef Yerushalmi noted in Zachor, centuries of persecution did not just create a theological disagreement, but an unbridgeable wall of pain and memory. It wasn't until the 20th century, after the horrors of the Holocaust, that reconciliation efforts truly began. The Catholic Church's declaration Nostra Aetate in 1965 formally rejected the charge that Jews were responsible for Jesus' death and called for respect between the two faiths. Yet, the centuries of pain, misunderstanding, and theological divergence have left a lasting impact. Jews and Christians share common roots, yet their paths have taken vastly different directions. Perhaps the lesson is this: difference does not need to mean conflict. Understanding is the first step toward respect. And as Martin Buber wisely said, true dialogue is not about proving who is right, but about recognizing each other's truth. So, what do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments, whether you're Jewish, Christian, or simply curious about this subject. And if you found this video insightful, consider sharing it with others. Thank you for watching.